27. Abhinya Jataka. No morsel can he eat. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery, about a lay disciple and an aged elder monk. Tradition says that there were in Sravasti city two friends, of whom one joined the brotherhood but used to go every day to the other's house, where his friend used to give him an alms of food and make a meal himself, and then accompany him back to the monastery, where he sat talking all the livelong day till the sun went down, when he went back to town. And his friend the brother used to escort him on his homeward way, going as far as the city gates before turning back. The intimacy of these two became known among the brethren, who were sitting one day in the hall of truth, talking about the intimacy which existed between the pair, when the master, entering the hall, asked what was the subject of their talk. And the brethren told him. Not only now, brethren, are these two intimate with one another, said the master. They were intimate in past days as well. And, so saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the bodhisattva became his minister. In those days there was a dog which used to go to the stall of the elephant of state, and eat the gobbets of rice which fell where the elephant fed. Haunting the place for the food's sake, the dog grew very friendly with the elephant, and at last would never eat except with him. And neither could get on without the other. The dog used to enjoy himself by swinging backwards and forwards on the elephant's trunk. Now one day a villager bought the dog of the mahout and took the dog home with him. From then the elephant, missing the dog, refused either to eat or drink or take his bath. And the king was told of it. His Majesty sent the bodhisattva to find out why the elephant behaved like this. Proceeding to the elephant house, the bodhisattva, seeing how sad the elephant was, said to himself, he has got no bodily ailment. He must have formed an ardent friendship, and is sorrowing at the loss of his friend. So he asked whether the elephant had become friends with anyone. Yes, my lord, was the answer. There's a very warm friendship between him and a dog. Where is that dog now? A man took it off. Do you happen to know where that man lives? No, my lord. The bodhisattva went to the king and said, there is nothing the matter with the elephant, sire. But he was very friendly with the dog, and it is missing his friend which has made him refuse to eat, I imagine. And so saying, he repeated the stanza. No morsel can he eat, no rice or grass. And in the bath he takes no pleasure now. I think, the dog had so familiar grown. That elephant and dog were closest friends. Well, said the king on hearing this. What is to be done now, sage? Let proclamation be made by beat of drum. Your Majesty. To the effect that a man is reported to have carried off a dog of which the elephant of state was fond, and that the man in whose house that dog shall be found, shall pay such and such a penalty. The king acted on this advice. And the man, when he came to hear of it, promptly let the dog loose. Away ran the dog at once, and made his way to the elephant. The elephant took the dog up in his trunk, and placed it on his head, and wept and cried, and, again setting the dog on the ground, saw the dog eat first and then took his own food. Even the minds of animals are known to him, said the king, and he loaded the bodhisattva with honors. Thus the master ended his lesson to show that the two were intimate in past days as well as at that date. This done, he unfolded the four truths. This unfolding of the four truths forms part of all the other Jatakas. But we shall only mention it where it is expressly mentioned that it was blessed unto fruit. Then he explained the relation, and identified the birth by saying, the lay disciple was the dog of those days, the aged elder monk was the elephant, and I myself the wise minister. Jataka number 28. Nandavisala Jataka. Speak only words of kindness. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery, about the bitter words spoken by the Sikhs. For, in those days the Sikhs, when they disagreed with respectable brethren, used to taunt, abuse and jeer them, and load them with the 10 kinds of abuse. This the brethren reported to the Lord Buddha, who sent for the 6 and asked whether this charge was true. On their admitting its truth, he rebuked them, saying, "Brethren, hard words gall even animals. In past days an animal made a man who had used harsh language to him lose 1,000 pieces." And, so saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time at Taxila in the land of Gandhara, near Afghanistan and Pakistan including Kandahar, there was a king reigning there, and the bodhisattva came to life as a bull. When he was quite a tiny calf, he was presented by his owners to a Brahmin who came in, they being known to give away presents of oxen to such like holy men. The Brahmin called it Nandi Visala, and treated it like his own child, feeding the young creature on rice porridge and rice. When the bodhisattva grew up, he thought thus to himself, "I have been brought up by this Brahmin with great pains, and all India cannot show the bull which can pull what I can. How if I were to repay the Brahmin the cost of my nurture by making proof of my strength?" Accordingly, one day he said to the Brahmin, "Go, Brahmin, to some merchant rich in herds, and bet him 1,000 pieces that your bull can pull 100 loaded carts." The Brahmin went his way to a merchant and got into a discussion with him as to whose oxen in the town were the strong. "Oh, so-and-so's, or so-and-so's," said the merchant. "But," added he, "there are no oxen in the town which can compare with mine for real strength." Said the Brahmin, "I have a bull who can pull 100 loaded carts." "Where's such a bull to be found?" laughed the merchant. "I've got him at home," said the Brahmin. "Make it a bet." "Certainly," said the Brahmin, and staked 1,000 pieces. Then he loaded 100 carts with sand, gravel, and stones, and leashed the lot together, one behind the other, by cords from the axle tree of the one in front to the trace bar of its successor. This done, he bathed Nandi Visala, gave him a measure of perfumed rice to eat, hung a garland round his neck, and harnessed him all alone to the leading cart. The Brahmin in person took his seat upon the pole, and swayed his staff in the air, shouting, "Now then, you rascal! Pull them along, you rascal!" "I'm not the rascal he calls me," thought the bodhisattva to himself. And so he planted his 4 feet like so many posts, and budged not an inch. Straightway, the merchant made the Brahmin pay over the 1,000 pieces. His money gone, the Brahmin took his bull out of the cart and went home, where he lay down on his bed in an agony of grief. When Nandi Visala strolled in and found the Brahmin a prey to such grief, he went up to him and inquired if the Brahmin were taking a nap. "How should I be taking a nap, when I have had 1,000 pieces won of me? Brahmin, all the time I have lived in your house, have I ever broken a pot, or squeezed up against anybody, or made messes about? Never, my child. Then, why did you call me a rascal? It's you who are to blame, not I. Go and bet him 2,000 this time. Only remember not to miscall me rascal again." When he heard this, the Brahmin went off to the merchant, and laid a bet of 2,000. Just as before, he leashed the 100 carts to one another and harnessed Nandi Visala, very spruce and fine, to the leading cart. If you ask how he harnessed him, well, he did it in this way. First, he fastened the cross yoke onto the pole. Then he put the bull in on one side, and made the other fast by fastening a smooth piece of wood from the cross yoke onto the axle tree, so that the yoke was taut and could not skew round either way. Thus a single bull could pull a cart made to be drawn by 2. So now seated on the pole, the Brahmin stroked Nandi Visala on the back, and called on him in this style, "Now then, my fine fellow! Pull them along, my fine fellow!" With a single pull the bodhisattva tugged along the whole string of the 100 carts till the last one stood where the foremost had started. The merchant, rich in herds, paid up the 2,000 pieces he had lost to the Brahmin. Other folks, too, gave large sums to the bodhisattva, and the whole passed into the hands of the Brahmin. Thus did he gain greatly by reason of the bodhisattva. Thus laying down, by way of rebuke to the Sikhs, the rule that hard words please no one. The master, as Buddha, uttered this stanza. Speak only words of kindness, never words unkind. For him who spoke him fair, he moved a heavy load, and brought him wealth, for love. When he had thus ended his lesson as to speaking only words of kindness, the master identified the birth by saying, Ananda was the Brahmin of those days, and I myself Nandi Visala. JATAKA number 29. Kanha JATAKA. With heavy loads. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery. About the double miracle, which, together with the descent from heaven, will be told in the 13th book, in the Sarabhamaga Jataka. After he had performed the double miracle and had made a stay in heaven, the all-knowing Buddha descended at the city of Samkasa on the day of the great Pavarana festival, and from there passed with a large following to Jetavana monastery. Gathering together in the hall of truth, the brethren sat praising the virtues of the master, saying, Sirs, exceptional is the Buddha. None may bear the yoke carried by the Buddha. The 6 teachers, though they protested so often that they, and they only, would perform miracles, yet not a single miracle did they work. Oh! How exceptional is the master! Entering the hall and asking the theme which the brethren were discussing in gathering, the master was informed that their theme was no other than his own virtues. Brethren, said the master, who shall now bear the yoke carried by me? Even in past days, when I came to life as an animal, I was unmatched. And, so saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the bodhisattva came to life as a bull. And while he was still a young calf, his owners, who had been lodging with an old woman, made him over to her in settlement of their dues. She reared him like her own child, feeding him on rice porridge and rice and on other good cheer. The name he became known by was Granny's Blackie. Growing up, he used to move about with the other cattle of the village, and was as black as jet. The village urchins used to catch hold of his horns and ears and dewlaps, and have a ride. Or they would hold on to his tail in play, and mount on his back. One day he thought to himself, my mother is very poor. She has painfully reared me, as if I were her own child. What if I were to earn some money to ease her hard lot? From then on he was always looking out for a job. Now, one day a young merchant at the head of a caravan came with 500 wagons to a ford the bottom of which was so rough that his oxen could not pull the wagons through. And even when he took out the 500 pairs of oxen and yoked the lot together to form one team, they could not get a single cart by itself across the river. Close by that ford the bodhisattva was about with the other cattle of the village. And the young merchant, being a judge of cattle, ran his eye over the herd to see whether among them there was a thoroughbred bull who could pull the wagons across. When his eye fell on the bodhisattva, he felt sure he would do. And, to find out the bodhisattva's owner, he said to the herdsman, who owns this animal? If I could yoke him on and get my wagons across, I would pay for his services. Said they, take him and harness him, then. He has got no master hereabouts. But when the young merchant slipped a cord through the bodhisattva's nose and tried to lead him off, the bull would not budge. For, we are told, the bodhisattva would not go till his pay was fixed. Understanding his meaning, the merchant said, Master, if you will pull these 500 wagons across, I will pay you 2 coins per cart, or 1,000 coins in all. It now required no force to get the bodhisattva to come. Away he went, and the men harnessed him to the carts. The first he dragged over with a single pull, and landed it high and dry. And in like manner he dealt with the whole string of wagons. The young merchant tied round the bodhisattva's neck a bundle containing 500 coins, or at the rate of only 1 for each cart. Thought the bodhisattva to himself, this fellow is not paying we according to contract. I won't let him move on. So he stood across the path of the foremost wagon and blocked the way. And try as they would, they could not get him out of the way. I suppose he knows I've paid him short, thought the merchant. And he wrapped up 1,000 coins in a bundle, which he tied round the bodhisattva's neck, saying, "Here's your pay for pulling the wagons across." And away went the bodhisattva with the 1,000 pieces of money to his mother. "What's that round the neck of Granny's blackie?" cried the children of the village, running up to him. But the bodhisattva made at them from afar and made them run off, so that he reached his mother all right. Not but what he appeared fagged out, with his eyes bloodshot, from dragging all those 500 wagons over the river. The pious woman, finding 1,000 pieces of money round his neck, cried out, "Where did you get this, my child?" Learning from the herdsman what had happened, she exclaimed, "Have I any wish to live on your earnings, my child? Why did you go through all this fatigue?" So saying, she washed the bodhisattva with warm water and rubbed him all over with oil. She gave him drink and fed him with dew food. And when her life closed, she passed away, with the bodhisattva, to fare according to her deeds. When he had ended this lesson to show that the Buddha was unmatched in the past as then, he explained the relation by uttering, as Buddha, this stanza. With heavy loads to carry, with bad roads, they harness blackie. He soon draws the load. After his lesson to show that only blackie could pull the load, he explained the relation, and identified the birth by saying, Uppalavana was the old woman of those days, and I myself Granny's blackie. JATAKA number 30. Munika JATAKA. Then envy not poor Munika. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery about being seduced by a plump young woman, as will be told in the 13th book in the Kulanarata Kashyapa Jataka. Then the master asked that brother, saying, "Is it true, brother, as they say, that you are passion-struck?" "It is true, sir," was the reply. "Brother," said the master, "she is your weakness. Even in past days, you met your end and were made into a relish for the company on her marriage day." And so saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time, when brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the bodhisattva came to life as an ox, named Big Red, on an official's estate in a certain village. And he had a younger brother who was known as Little Red. There were only these two brothers to do all the pulling work of the family. Also, the official had an only daughter, whose hand was asked in marriage for his son by a gentleman of the town. And the parents of the girl, with a view to providing elegant treats for the wedding guests, began to fatten up a pig named Munika. Observing this, Little Red said to his brother, "All the loads that have to be drawn for this household are drawn by you and me, my brother. But all they give us for our pains is sorry grass and straw to eat. Yet here is the pig being fed on rice. What can be the reason why he should be treated to such manner?" Said his brother, "My dear Little Red, envy him not. For the pig eats the food of death. It is but to provide a relish for the guests at their daughter's wedding, that the family are feeding up the pig. Wait but a little time and the guests will be coming. Then will you see that pig lugged out of his quarters by the legs, killed, and in process of conversion into curry." And so saying, he repeated the stanza. Then envy not poor Munika. It is death. He eats. Contented munch your frugal chaff. The pledge and guarantee of length of days. Not long afterwards the guests did arrive. And Munika was killed and cooked into all manner of dishes. Said the bodhisattva to Little Red, "Did you see Munika, dear brother?" "I have indeed seen, brother, the outcome of Munika's feasting. Better 100, no 1,000, times than such food is ours, though it be but grass, straw, and chaff. For our treatment, harms us not, and is a pledge that our lives will not be cut short." When he had ended his lesson to the effect that the brother had thus in past days been brought to his doom by that young woman and had been made into a relish for the company, he preached the truths, at the close of which the passion-struck brother reached the first path of nirvana. Also the master explained the relation and identified the birth by saying, "The passion-struck brother was the pig Munika of those days, the young woman is the same in both cases, Ananda was little red, and I myself big red.